Hello, Ruby here. If you are new to this channel, I am a psychic, tarot reader, astrologer, witch, and priestess. And today I'm going to be sharing with you some signs if you might be a priestess. This video is for those of you who think you might be a priestess, or you feel you're being called to a priestess path, but you're not quite sure. You're looking for some confirmation. If you already are a priestess, you still might resonate or get something out of this video. I was not planning on filming this tonight, but it strongly came through that somebody needed to hear this. And so I quickly channeled this list. It is by no means an exhaustive list, but if 1, 2, 3, 4 of these things really call out to you, there's a good chance you are being called to the path of priestesshood. So there's five key signs you might be a priestess. And the first one is that you have a strong connection to the divine feminine or a face of deity. Now, you can be a priestess to a male deity. You can be a priestess to a certain energy that is perhaps not a face of deity. But my experience is being a priestess of the divine feminine. And so that's what I'll be speaking to, just because that is my avenue. That is what I have experience in. So from a very young age, I have been pulled towards the divine feminine, and I've always really connected in with the divine feminine. And I have so much reverence and adoration and connection. And if you don't have that, you're not being called to the priestess path. Being a priestess is for those that wish to develop a very strong relationship with one or more faces of the divine, and have that relationship almost be one of the center points, if not the center point, of their life. Everything that I do is in reference to the faces of the divine feminine that I work with, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And so if that's not something you feel is for you, this is not your path, and this isn't a path for everyone, okay? But that's number one, first and foremost. To be a priestess, you have to be in love with the divine, and you have to have a passion to ground that energy into the collective, okay? The second sign you might be a priestess is that you are a natural channel or psychic. Now, sometimes this can come across as you just being a really deep feeler. Psychic ability and extrasensory ability can show up in a myriad of ways, some more obvious than others. But part of the work of being a priestess is channeling the divine into this planet, right? And so to do that, you must have some sort of channeling or intuitive ability. Now, if everything else on this list resonates for you, and that's the only place where you're feeling I don't know if that's there, you might just be putting psychic or intuitive ability into too small of a box. If you feel really deeply, if you are sensitive to energy, if you feel energy move through your body, if you have really vivid dreams that have meaning, these are all indications that you might have some sort of channeling or intuitive ability. But I definitely feel that to really ground into the vocation of the priestess, one of the main practices or responsibilities of the priestess is to be an embodiment and a mouthpiece for the energy that you serve. So I do feel that you really can serve best if you are connected in to that divine channel, and you'll get messages for the collective through your connection with the divine if you are serving as a priestess. Okay. So the third sign that you might be walking the path of the priestess or being called to this path is you have had a history of disempowering relationships, maybe a hard childhood, maybe a history of trauma. You know what it's like to be disempowered. Now, I don't think that every single person that is a priestess is going to have a traumatic life, but I do see a very strong correlation between those who are priestesses and them also having difficult childhoods, difficult relationships. I think this is the case because to serve the goddess is to sit in a place of spiritual power and to know what that feels like and to have the wisdom and the humility to hold that power. I feel it's a prerequisite to have experienced disempowerment. And I see a lot for those that are called to the path of the priestess that are women or feminine bodied, that they have struggled a lot in their love life because, I mean, one could argue that to be embodied in your divine feminine, you have to experience what it's like to be objectified for being a feminine being, or what it's like to not be honored as a feminine being. It's almost like the polarity has to be experienced so that you can really step in and realize and understand what it is to, like I said, be embodied or be empowered in your feminine energy. So I don't think that this is a requirement for every priestess, nor would I ever wish an experience of disempowerment or trauma on a person. But I just find that there is a correlation. And in my own life, y'all, I have had so much trauma. I have survived so much trauma. And even in, my daily life, I'm a single mom. I'm the sole breadwinner for my family. There's a lot in my life that I've had to overcome to be where I'm at. And those experiences have given me wisdom. And I think more than anything, they have brought me to a place of humility and service. And I think it's really important that I say that being a priestess is not an ego title. And it really irritates me when I see it thrown around or used in a way that is more ego-based or frivolous, because I just have so much respect for this work. So, number 4 is that you have a history, and this kind of ties into what I just said. You have a history of lack of comfort in your body or feeling disembodied. And I think this is the same reason for why many women who are priestesses come from a background of being disempowered in their romantic relationships or disempowered in their home environments growing up. When one experiences discomfort in your body or disembodiment, whether that's from an experience of trauma, body dysmorphia, eating disorder, whatever it may be, one experiences the polarity of hating the divine feminine vessel or struggling with the divine feminine vessel. And as a priestess, we are in the goddess embodied. We are the holy, sacred, feminine embodied. And to really understand what that means and to hold that mantle, I usually find there's some struggle with, acceptance of the body or being grounded in the body until we have been initiated into this path. And I know for me, I struggled with eating disorders in high school. I struggled with body dysmorphia. I spent so much of my life hating my body. And I'm not gonna lie, like sometimes those struggles still come up. But when I'm really connected in as a priestess, I know that like I am a vessel and an embodiment of the feminine. And that is such a healing, beautiful thing. And so, you know, as priestesses, as souls that incarnated to take on this mantle, I do feel that we signed on for a more challenging life path so that we could have like the wisdom and the experience to hold this seat, the seat of the priestess. And so again, like if everything, you relate to everything on this list that I'm talking to, except for, you know, feeling like you've been challenged in relationships or you've been challenged in your body, like you are still a priestess, okay? But if you have had all of these experiences and you've been wondering, hey, is this a path I'm called to? You will know that this is who you are, okay? And I do feel, again, that I was supposed to make this video, that some of what I'm sharing has been channeled. So it's not coming just from me, okay? So the last sign that you are called to the path of the priestess is that you have a strong desire to be of spiritual service. Whether that's in an official, like spiritual vocation, like being a healer or a reader, or whether that's just like offering this medicine to your community in a more relaxed daily life way. And I don't think that these things are one or the other. Like I am in a spiritual vocation, and also I feel I like hold and bring this energy into any space that I enter into, because this isn't just a thing I do every once in a while. Like this is who I am. But you don't have to be in a full-time spiritual vocation to be a priestess, okay? And for me, the role of the priestess is mostly that of service. Like we are offering ourselves up as conduits to the energy of the divine. And so if you aren't interested in being a spiritual service to others and to the divine, then this probably isn't your path, and that's okay. This isn't a path for everybody. But I will say, when we are in the role of priestess, we are in a service role, and we're offering that medicine to others in our community, and we are also of service to the divine. And so more so than other spiritual paths, I feel this is a lifestyle of saying, like, not my will, but thy will. We surrender in to the divine energy, and in doing so, we may give up a little bit of like personal freedom, perhaps. Like, I don't really feel it that way, but it's like, you know, it's not just us. Like, we're also saying, you know, like, you can like use me as a channel for your peace, for your divinity. But I feel there's also like great rewards and growth on this path. So it's a role of greater spiritual responsibility, I guess would be a better way to say it. There's more spiritual responsibility in this path, but I feel there is more like deep rewards and wisdom to be gained from this path. But if you don't feel aligned with being in spiritual service, you can still, like worship the divine feminine, like work with the divine feminine in your personal practice. You probably just aren't on the path of priestesshood. So I hope that that was clear. It's been a while since I've made a video about being a priestess, but it's coming up again for me to talk about. And so if you have any questions about this or any future videos that you would like me to make on this topic, please let me know in the comments. And as always, I am sending you love and wishing you well.